Hello, everybody. Welcome to Thursday's Facebook Live on our Awakening Circle. There you go. If anybody jumps on and can let me know if there's any issues with sound. We had a problem last week, and the one downfall, at least that I've found so far on Facebook Live, is that I cannot tell if you guys can hear anything. Whereas like when we do Zoom or anything like that, then I can see it right away. So it's a bit of a different beast for me to try and figure out as we're going through these things. So if you do, or if you're on here and you're coming in live, let me know, and hopefully I'm going to see it. That's why I made a comment, was to try and see if I could get everybody else's comments to come up. So my goal is every single Thursday at 12:15, I'll do a Facebook Live where, so you guys can just count that that'll be the time. I always remind you in our emails. So if you are not on my email list, then you can go ahead and jump over. I will throw the link in a comment, actually, where we even have like a boundaries checklist, which you can grab. It's a freebie. And in there, you'll automatically go on to our email list. My emails in the morning I usually send them in the morning. They're pretty quick and easy, and I'm just giving kind of tips and tricks. Mondays were always about mindfulness, so it might be a breathwork piece that you can do, or a little meditation. It'll be something to help us kind of set our mind as we head into the week, especially because we still sit with a higher rate of chronic stress, of heart attacks, that sort of thing, actually on Monday mornings than any other time of the week. So that's why I do my mindfulness Mondays on Mondays. Tuesdays, I do a YouTube, and so that's when that drops at noon. And then on Wednesdays, I usually do wellness, so it's, or wisdom. So it's always, sharing a book or a podcast, that sort of thing. And then on Thursdays, we do our Facebook Live. Fridays right now is another YouTube, which drops again at noon. So it gives you kind of the link so that you can watch that as it premieres. And that is going to switch in probably April. I'm challenging myself. So you know what? I'm just going to tell you guys April. So in April, that's going to switch. It'll still be on YouTube, but I am launching a podcast. So I'm super excited about that. If you stay on our group, I'm going to get some polls and feedback from you guys on, the cover page and all that kind of stuff, and topics that you want to chat on. So that will all be in there. And then on the weekends, usually Saturdays, just kind of celebrate yourself. And Sundays, we do my blog. So on Sundays, I drop the blog. Usually the week kind of flows. That's always the goal, is the week's going to flow from one into the other, into the other, into the other. So it all kind of builds and makes sense as we're doing it. So it just kind of gives you different ways to get that information. So if that sounds like something that you would like, they're always quite short. I'm very much I don't have a lot of bandwidth. And so I want my emails to have lots of value, but not be crazy long. And I want there to be a point to them, so that it isn't just taking up more space in your inbox, because it feels like our inboxes get flooded a lot. So it took me 3 years to be convinced to even do email newsletters, because I always feel very overwhelmed by my email. And if you've ever emailed me, then you've gotten a reply email that says, as a mindfulness practitioner, I am connected to everything and attached to nothing, especially my devices. So even in the Facebook group, it was a big commitment to me to do this. And I mean, my ideal would be that I'm in here and chatting with you guys every single day. Sometimes I just find that the amount of tech time, whether that's on our Instagram, our Facebook, emails, and then for myself, I also have like YouTube and my podcast. I guard my energy for you guys. And so for me, I'm like, okay, how much can I give, and make sure that when I am having a one-on-one, whether that's with a coaching client here in my office, or whether that is doing energy mastery work, or even if that is like, if I see you out in public or we're chatting, I want to be 100% present. And so sometimes I find with the bombardment of social media is fine when the content is uplifting. But right now we are being bombarded, and it's usually just a different topic, you guys. So we're bombarded all the time with fear, things that either make us scared or make us angry. There's a tactic to that. And so, because the simple fact is we only give our power away to somebody when we're angry or scared. Because when we're angry, we want somebody to fix it. Or we're like ready to support somebody who's saying that they're going to fix it. And so we give them our power. Same goes for fear. When we're scared, we feel like our safety's being threatened. Same thing. We give our power away. And so there's a reason that we're constantly being bombarded through media with things that make us either scared or angry. And it's because somebody wants our power for whatever reason. And so with that being said, that's why I'm so cautious about how much I interact and how much I really connect into technology. So if you send me messages and I don't get back to you right away, that's part of it. I check my messenger, and I see clients one-on-one all day long, and I never touch my tech one with clients. So I, will check them usually a few times a week. But if that's why, be patient. It's not that I'm ignoring you. It's just that I might be with clients or be in a headspace where I have to hold that energy for longer out of absolute respect for what I'm doing. So just kind of a heads up, a little insight to the inside of my mind. And so keep those little pieces there for you. So today, to actually build on that, is I want to chat with us about 3 levels of healing: emotional, mental, and energetic. And so this is pretty much what I do all day, every day. What do? I help people kind of support their energy systems, their bodies, and help them with the layers of healing. And so as we've been doing these Facebook lives, one of the things that we've been chatting about is that how downward causation works and how we're created. And in that creation of downward causation, so quick little recap, really simple. Base layer of where everything comes from is bliss consciousness. Think like an ocean. So bliss consciousness, everything is oneness. As energy starts to pixelate or expand, big bang, expands, we start getting the individualization, so the drops of the ocean. And within individualization, or what we would call supramental consciousness, we have the archetypes, so the aspects of our personality, so individualized aspects of personality, and we have the monads, which is the aspects of emotions. So aspects of the mental plane and the aspects of the emotional plane and individualization are in supramental. So bliss, supramental, downward, we're getting denser and denser and heavier as we go down the funnel. Then we have mental consciousness. Mental consciousness would be our beliefs, our thoughts, our ideas, our egos, and our psyche, anything that sits within that mental plane. So, and you can think of it as electrical energy, and you can feel the charges now. So you can start to feel the energy of somebody's thoughts. And then as energy keeps getting denser, then we move down into the emotional or the subtle body, emotional consciousness or subtle consciousness. And in there is the meridians, the chakras or energy centers, the transformers in our body, as well as the mental consciousness, emotional consciousness, the magnetic energy of the heart. And so within that, we start to really feel it. You can walk into a room and you can feel the energy of that room. And so now we're starting to sense it or feel it, even though we can't touch it and see it. And then finally, energy collapses, or I think of it as like crystallizing. And so you'd go like from a cloud to rain to snow to ice or down to ice. So we finally get the freezing of it. And so we now have, physical consciousness, and you can think of that as our body, but it's not only our body, it's our body, the environment, and our breath. And so the breath actually gets linked under that consciousness. I'm giving this to you guys because healing works in the same direction. So we heal at the levels that we're struggling at, as well as if we want to have instant healing, then we want to heal at an upper level. We want to heal an archetype, and then it's going to we've got downward causation, so it's going to down regulate through all the layers until we get a different physical experience. And so that's kind of, I'm giving that to you in a quick little synopsis of that. And I was just like, I have a piece of paper sitting behind me. I'm just going to grab it because it'll be important when we're going through this today. There we go. Okay, so my pretty little visual of downward causation for you that you get when you're sitting in my office. I'm a great artist. Said nobody ever. So downward causation within healing. So the first piece that we want to dive into is that there is 3 levels of healing. And we have the emotional, the mental, and the energetic. And so most people, and you can tell when I say energetic, what I'm really talking is like the somatic or the physical aspect, how it's affecting us on a physical level. And so because those last 3 layers are our experience within the physical world. And so those are kind of the 3 layers of our life, the 3 layers that we want to heal at. And so often we want to heal something at a physical level. We would say like, my shoulder really hurts, so fix my shoulder. And you don't really want to hear somebody say to you, oh, well, your shoulder's bothering you because you're not giving and receiving in an equal measure. You're a big giver, but you don't really accept help. And so because of that, the hinge of the arm is giving you grief. And people will be like, just fix the arm. And that was me 10 years ago. And I was like, just fix my head. I don't want to talk about why it's like this, like just fix the damn problem. And so that's where I was really at for a long time. And I didn't understand that it doesn't work that way, because the physical body is a representation of the mental and the emotional. They collapsed. And so if I don't change the quality of the water, I'm going to have a different quality of ice. And so to change what I'm freezing, I would need to change what the freezing the ice is made up of. And so the same goes when we're doing this work, and that's healing in its most basic level, and in fairness, its most honest level. So as much as we don't necessarily love it, it's true. So that's why when we've got something like cancer comes up, and now we're talking to oncologists, they'll say if you're still working in or living in a super toxic environment, then the chances of it recurring are much higher, and the chances of you actually beating it are lower. And so the environment, mental, emotional, and physical environment, are all super important to our healing journey. And not only is that within our external world, so the people we spend time with, but our internal world. So we can spend time with all the positive people that we want. We can have a loving environment. But if I'm talking smack in my head constantly, then I'm going to have a negative mental environment. The environment just happens to be my body or inside my mind. And so keep that in mind. Or if I'm like working with a lot of people that are really loving and heart-centered, but I'm struggling with anger every day and resentment, then my external world could be great, but my internal world is a disaster. And so that's where we really want to do our work, because the truth is, most of us that have a really negative internal world rarely can hold a positive exterior world for very long. Those people tend to leave. And when we're like, why does everybody leave me? Well, might be that, that's a lot to be around. It might be uncomfortable for them, and they might be just ready to move on. You can come back into their circle again once you start to do your own healing work. And so, a lot of people say to me, I will do my healing work when my external world changes. And I always laugh, and I'm like, great, but if you change your external world, it's just going to turn out to be exactly the same if you haven't dealt with your internal world. And that's really what we're going to chat about within this. So if we've ever felt really stuck repeating the same pattern, then this is for you. This is really what we're talking about today. Is I want us to get through this. So I don't want you to focus on one layer, but because true transformation happens when we hit all of the layers. And so that comes into play. So one of the ways I've explained downward causation before that helps us see it in live time is that we first have a thought, mental consciousness. That's not fair. And then we have an emotion. So I feel hurt, betrayed, victimized. And then I have a feeling. So the thought antagonizes or creates the emotion. And then I have a physical experience of it. Increased heart rate, blood pressure goes up, sinking in my stomach, anxiety, depression, whatever we want to call them. We have a physical experience. And so our physical experience is always created by our mental and emotional experience. I'm not safe. I feel scared or fear. Physical experience. And so keep that in mind as we're doing this work. That's really what we're dealing with each day. And so we must be our own project, always. As a matter of fact, we're our only project. And so when people ask me, how do I get my husband to do this work? I'm like, do the work and inspire him every single time. You telling him he needs it will actually slow it down. And Mel Robbins, in her latest book, Let Them, actually talks about that. There's a whole psychological component that we will actually resist people saying when we need to deal with something. It's like, get back in your own business and let me deal with my business. If you want me to change, inspire me to change. You do the work and inspire me to do the work too. And so keep that in mind as we're doing this piece. I share videos. I've spent hundreds and hundreds of dollars on books for my mom, and she never finished reading any of them. So there's really no point, and many of them were like beautiful letters I wrote to her saying, I really want you to heal. I want you to have this experience. You deserve to be happy. You deserve peace. And she just never could do it because she needed to do it on her own. And no amount of cajoling or pushing or gifting was going to change that for her. So keep that in mind as we're doing this work. It's for us. And we can do the work not only for us, but for our loved ones. In other words, I'll do my healing work because that will help inspire healing. Or at the very bare minimum, I'll do my healing work so that I'm not projecting pain onto the people I love. So that is a big piece of why we do the work that we are doing. So let's jump in here. So emotional healing. So when we're doing our emotional healing, we want to go into feeling versus suppressing. So actually, you know what? I'm going to jump us up to mental first. I have them written in emotional healing, but I actually want to jump us into mental first, just because we're going from downward causation. So mental healing, is really about shifting our patterns. So our thoughts shape our reality, as we just discussed. Thought, emotion, action, and that shapes our reality. For centuries, and nobody even knows where the thing began, is watch your thoughts, because your thoughts create your words. Watch your words, because your words create your actions. There's a whole piece that goes with it. And it's been read out by the Pope, by presidents. And so this has been known. But what most people don't start with is what starts your thoughts. And our thoughts start from our beliefs. And so if I am not aware that I'm having these belief issues, then I'm going to have a problem. So often we're trying to change our thoughts, when we're doing affirmations and all these pieces, but if we don't actually realize that we have a belief that's maybe causing the issue, then it's going to keep going. And so one of the ways that we can go through this is we can rewrite the inner stories to change the external world. So what do I mean by this? We can work on changing our perceptions of our experiences. So what we don't want to just do, if we're going, okay, I have a belief that I'm unworthy. I had it for years. I'm unworthy of being protected. I'm unworthy of being loved. I'm unworthy of all sorts of things. And so just doing affirmations saying I am worthy, I'm worthy was creating a dichotomy between my conscious mind and my subconscious mind, or my external world and my internal world. And that dichotomy is what creates chronic stress. And so we don't want to create chronic stress in our experience. We were trying to find harmony. It's not even about balance. Balance is like you could fall off. We want harmony in our life. And so keep that in mind as we're doing these pieces, that we're looking for some harmony, and what does that feel like in our bodies. And so one of the ways we can do this is we can rewrite the story. And so one of the ways we can rewrite our story is to go back into the memories that were like, well, this is proof that I don't deserve to be loved. And we can go back and rewrite them. And we can do this by changing our perception, looking at it from a different point of view. And so that might be seeing that the other person, my husband doesn't love me, could be like, my husband's really struggling with work. It's not that we're justifying behaviors. My husband was really struggling with work. This is not a true story. And, we could be saying my husband was really struggling with work, and he was, and in that, because he was hurting so much, he was really lashing out. and his behavior was a projection of himself, his own pain. It actually had nothing to do with me. So although it was hurtful to go through that, you wouldn't necessarily take that on as personal. Does that make sense? And so we rewrite it by changing our perception, by starting to look at it from a different point of view. And then from those different changing point of views, we can support the changing beliefs or patterns of thinking that we want to have. So that'd be one way that we could go about that. In our emotional healing, when we're looking at that, we're looking at feeling something versus suppressing something. And so we're taught to either avoid our emotions, so stuff them down or ignore them. I have a friend and colleague that has gone through this, where she's always told that she had really big emotions. And if she was feeling something, she'd be told to go out for a run. Run it out. And instead of like feeling it and going through the experience of it, it doesn't mean I am angry, but I'm experiencing anger, and this is what's coming up for me so that we can move through. And for some of us, we come into this realm with one of our purposes is to experience emotions, to experience big emotions. And for other people, our emotions might be a little bit more like just kind of right across. And for others, they might be big. And that can continue on for their whole life. And so they're just more emotionally driven people versus cognitively driven people. And one is actually not better than the other. We just want to find the harmony again between them all. So we're looking for that coherence in our wavelengths. We want the mental and the emotional to have coherence together so that we're not creating this crazy chaos in our bodies where then we have a physical experience that we dislike, that creates a state of dis-ease within ourselves. And healing on the emotional level really starts when we are feeling and then releasing rather than resisting. And so the Dalai Lama was asked, he was at a university and somebody asked him, do you ever feel anger? He said, yeah, all the time. And they said, well, what do you do? And he said, I let anger rise and I let anger fall. And so his point is that when an emotion comes out, an emotion itself only has a lifespan of 90 seconds if we don't attach a story to it. I feel angry because. And so an emotion will just come and go. Like, I get the surge of anger. I don't need to like lean into that. I can be like, oh, it's anger. I was just feeling there. And if we don't attach the story, the emotions come and go and we stay centered. And that's kind of the middle path, or the Buddha's way, is keeping within the center of that. And so we're not trying to not experience our emotions. We have these emotions come up like, oh, there's anxiety. I had to do this for years, for the first, especially the first year actually after my brain injuries. I all of a sudden started experiencing high levels of anxiety and panic attacks. And I didn't know what was happening. I actually thought I was having heart attacks at first. And my doctor's like, no, you're having a panic attack. And I was like, why? She's like, because you don't feel safe. And I was stunned. Like I had no conscious understanding of what was going on. And so for a year, I would practice every morning. I'd wake up with anxiety, with like severe debilitating anxiety. And I would lay in bed and she would make me run through, she didn't make me, but the recommendation was that she wanted me to lay in bed and stay with the anxiety until I could explain it to her. I should be able to explain it at a level where she could paint a picture. And so I would explain like, okay, like what's its texture? What's its temperature? Does it have a color? Does it move from left to right, up, down? Is it sinuous? Is it prickly? Is it smooth? Explain the emotion to a point that somebody could paint it. And so when I began this process, it would be anywhere up to 30 minutes. I'd be laying in bed with this experience and I would not want to be there. And then as time went on, within just a couple of short weeks, actually, it shrunk drastically where I was like down to 5 minutes. And then what was fascinating, she said, okay, great. Now I want you to let me know what it changes into. And so we know all the textures and everything else. So that's great. Those are all happening. Just wait. Like, I just want you to watch and wait for the ending. So it's like you're on the edge of your seat waiting for the ending of a movie. Like, what's going to happen? And that's exactly what she wanted me to be doing. And all of a sudden it was like gone. And I was like, whoa, where'd it go? Oh, what's this emotion? And I didn't understand what the next emotion, because it was my neutral line. And I was like, oh, I just feel like guess calm. Like I just feel like peace, or like I like it, like I actually didn't even understand it. I was like super confused, and you're always feeling an emotion, so there is something there even if it's your baseline. So I was like, oh, oh, interesting. So then I had to get to know that. And so it's like this way that we can get to know ourselves, if that makes sense. So we get to know ourselves by staying with the emotion as opposed to pushing it away. And maybe that's not something we can do right at work, but maybe we could go to the bathroom and we could just sit and breathe into the energy of anger and let it come and let it go, or the energy, because that is all an emotion is energy in motion. So could you just step out somewhere and take a few moments and feel that emotion until it can pass and process out rather than resisting it? Or the thought starts wheeling with it, oh, like they're such a jerk and this is why I'm so angry. And then instead of having an emotion, which is 90 seconds, we start shifting it into an event and then into a mood, and it gets longer and longer and longer. And if you're not careful, you can move from a mood to a personality. And all of a sudden, that's your main dominant monad aspect of emotion, of personality that you're linked into. He's just an angry person. And you ask them, like, why are you so bitter? Why are you so angry? Oh, 20 years ago, my spouse cheated on me. Oh, great. 20 years ago. Like, why are you angry now? And we see this every day. Many of us go through this. I went through it for years with dealing with my mom, dealing with my ex-husband. So and it's like, okay, great, but it's not happening right now. So you're still stuck 20 years ago. He did that to you in that time frame, but you've been doing it to yourself for the last 20 years. Not lovely to hear it the first time, but let me tell you, extraordinarily powerful. Once I realized that meant I had full control again. I was no longer a victim of the situation. I got to be in charge of my life again. And I want that for you. I want you to have all of your power reestablished within yourself, to remember it, because you are so incredibly powerful. And so then when we go into energetic healing, so the third level, or what we'd call in the physical, is the releasing of that stagnant energy. So once we've hit the physical, more than just the moment or the mood, we start with creating this physical set experience. And so our body holds emotional traumas and dramas. And that's psychosomatics. And so a lot of it gets held in our hips. And that's linked because our hips are really linked with childhood, with creativity, with sexuality, with sensuality. So there's all sorts of issues within this current time where that comes into play, whether we're male or female. So it's not like just women have, what we call womb issues or creative center issues. Men as well have the, tight hips and all the rest because they're really containing in there. So it's not a gender issue. And so where we're holding it in our body is telling us a story as well. And so the body, like I said about the shoulder at the beginning, if the shoulder is hurting, often that is either linked to carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders, or if it's a hinging point, collarbone hinges, those sorts of things, it's a giving and receiving issue. And so where the pain in our body will tell us a lot more about our story. And so keep that in mind as we're going through our body and doing our healing. And so to heal at this level, tools like breath work, so breathing into that space. I use breath work when I'm doing energy mastery work or coaching work. When we're ready to release something, a belief or an emotion or any sort of an event, I'll have the person breathe into that space while we're moving the energy out of their body. And so there's an active co-participation together. So I'm not just going to do it for you. I require you to be part of your own process. And so we're going to move that energy out, and breath work works beautifully. And that's why even people just doing breath work all by yourself at home, well, all of a sudden some people have these big emotional releases. It's beautiful, beautiful. Yoga, same thing. People will be laying in shavasana and all of a sudden they'll burst out crying, or be doing camel and a heart opener and they'll burst. That happened to me several times. Burst out crying, restorative yoga. Why? We're having an emotional release. That is actually one of the purposes of yoga, is to move the energy of the body, to prepare the body for meditation. That is its actual reason. So, for movement yoga. So keep that in mind as you're doing the practice, is you're supposed to be prepping yourself for meditation. And meditation is the quiet or the stillness, so that you can hear the messages, the answers to the things you've been asking. And so we find the stillness underneath all the chaos and chatter of the brain and of the mind, and we go underneath that so that we can hear the answers that we have been seeking. and energy clearing. So that could be tapping, emotional freedom technique. It could be craniosacral. Even things like physiotherapy, massage therapy, those are all energy works, all body working is in there. And so the other thing, so in that, and movement is also a place. So keep that in mind. So when I think downward causation, but I go on the healing place to heal it physical, which includes like our senses and our body, we want it, nutrition is one of the ways that we heal at a physical level. Fitness is a way that we heal at a physical level. But to move up to vital, so subtle consciousness or vital consciousness, at that meridian chakras, emotions, that sort of thing, then we are going to go into the yoga, the breath work, Tai Chi, anything that's vital life force kind of stuff, to move that. And that would also include live food. So eating more like a raw food diet or live organic food. The vibrational frequency of that food is higher. So you're going to heal at a faster, a more increased or a higher vibrational frequency of healing. So, live food. When we want to heal in mental consciousness, then we can look at things like EFT, emotional freedom technique, or tapping, visualization exercises. So some meditation is like in stillness and silence, and some meditation is more visualization. And so visualization helps us heal on that plane. That would include like any kind of shamanic visualizations, that sort of thing. Hypnotherapy heals at a mental, so it's going to start at the mental and then it's going to dump through because it's downward causation. We heal at mental, we're going to heal mental, we're going to heal vital, and we're going to heal physical. So hypnotherapy, any sort of mind techniques, NLP would be another, neuro-linguistic programming, heals us on a mental level. So all those places would go there. And then that would also include affirmations and intention work. Still healing there. If we want to heal at a supramental consciousness level, that's more of an unconscious processing of things. So instead, we would actually shift all the way up to bliss consciousness level. And to heal at bliss consciousness or wholeness, we are going to heal through meditation, contemplation, prayer, and one thing that they call art of divine light. So anything where we're healing at like all the way up into that, coming back into oneness, will down regulate through all the other layers. And so if we're healing at meditation, that's when we can come through a meditation all of a sudden, and it's like we go from victim all the way to victorious. Like we just drop it and let it go. We're done. And so we're healing at bliss level, which gives us a completely different physical experience. And that's the level in which we heal at when we all of a sudden somebody has spontaneous healing. Spontaneous healing is absolutely a thing. I've been studying it for 8 years now, and it happens at a bliss consciousness level. And that's why so many doctors and teachers and healers now have started really heavily going into meditation. So why is everybody telling us to meditate? This is the reason why. Because meditation helps us heal at a way, way, way more expansive level than anything physical can help us. So at that physical level, it could be drugs, surgery, exercise and nutrition, anything that's kind of that dense physical concept. But when we want to go beyond that and heal for the long term, we want to heal at a more expansive level. So I hope this helped you guys today. I hope it brought you guys some value. If they did, please leave me a comment. What do you want to heal? What is it that comes up for you? Is there something that you're ready to release? And maybe it's just an emotion, or maybe an event. Maybe there's a word you want there. Maybe you just say, me, I'm ready. And that doesn't mean that I'm saying come and work with me. It means that me, I'm ready to heal. I've given you lots of different ways and lots of different practitioners out there that you can work with. If there's something that resonates for you and like, hey, how would I do this? I'm happy to recommend people that do all sorts of this kind of work. Meditation, if you want to like check out meditation, there's tons on YouTube. There's also the app Insight Timer, which is free. You can pay where you can do courses and stuff as well, but it has a whole free component, and so you can do that on my YouTube channel, and I can download some of them here on our back end. I have a bunch of meditations on there. And then I guide meditation usually twice a week on Tuesdays and Fridays right now, although that schedule might change at the end of March. So there's lots of different ways. Please don't hesitate to reach out to me, questions that you have, either in here, in the comments, throw me a message on Messenger, Just remember, if I don't answer you right away, I promise I will. It just sometimes takes me a little bit longer as I decide which one of my response area. I can only do like just email, just text, just like I just gotta batch them in there for myself. And that's all about my own mental, emotional, and physical health. So keep that in mind. And yeah, and if you're ready to release what no longer serves you, I mean, there is always working with me. I'm taking new clients now. I think I just opened 2 more spots for doing coaching, one-on-one coaching with people. I also have spots available for doing energy mastery or body code. And if you're not sure if that's something that you really want to check out, it feels like, oh, what does that look like? Then you can always book a free no sales consult with me to see if that's actually going to be what resonates best for you. The other thing I would say when we're going into these that I didn't mention is things like acupuncture. I use acupuncture every single week. I use 2 different acupuncturists, and I am a huge believer in acupuncture. Acupuncture heals at a mental vital level. And so that is another thing that maybe that would feel safer for you. But any questions you have, you guys, do not hesitate to reach out. I hope this was good for you guys. I look forward to journeying together on this healing path. Until next time, brightest of blessings.